Today, a single message can travel across the world in seconds with just a tap on a phone. But in 1900 America, one small message delivered without any technology we know today ended up changing lives in ways no one could have imagined. In the autumn of 1900, in a quiet farming town outside Des Moines, Iowa, a 14-year-old boy named Henry Lawson worked as a messenger for the local general store. The town was small but steadily growing, surrounded by endless fields of corn and dirt roads that stretched far into the horizon. There were no telephones in most homes, no instant communication, and certainly no mobile devices. News traveled slowly, by letters, word of mouth, or by someone physically carrying the message from one place to another. Henry was one of those people. Each day he walked miles between farms, delivering handwritten notes, small packages, and important messages for townspeople. Some messages were simple, requests for supplies or invitations to gatherings. Others carried more weight, news about business deals, family emergencies, or opportunities that could change someone's future. Henry took his job seriously. Though he was young, he understood that every message mattered. His family depended on the small income he earned. His father worked as a farmhand, often struggling to find steady work depending on the season. His mother managed the home and cared for Henry's younger siblings. Like many families in rural America at the turn of the 20th century, they lived modestly, always one difficult season away from hardship. One cold afternoon in November, as the wind swept across the open fields, Henry was handed a message unlike any he had delivered before. It was sealed carefully in an envelope and marked "Urgent." The store owner, Mr. Caleb Turner, looked at Henry with unusual seriousness. "This needs to reach the Whitaker farm before nightfall," he said. "No delays." Henry nodded and tucked the letter safely inside his coat. The Whitaker farm was nearly 6 miles away, a long journey, especially with the sun already beginning to set. But Henry didn't hesitate. He had made longer trips before, and he understood the importance of urgency. He began walking quickly, his boots crunching against the dry dirt road that would soon freeze as the temperature dropped. As he walked, the sky darkened faster than expected. A storm was approaching. Cold winds picked up, and heavy clouds rolled in overhead. By the time Henry reached the halfway point, snow had begun to fall. Turning back was not an option, not this time. The roads became harder to see as snow covered the ground. Landmarks disappeared. The familiar path blurred into white uncertainty. Henry's hands grew numb despite being tucked inside his coat, but he kept going, because somewhere ahead, someone was waiting for that message. After nearly 3 hours, exhausted and nearly frozen, Henry finally reached the Whitaker farm. The house stood quietly in the distance, its windows glowing faintly with lamplight. He knocked on the door with shaking hands. When Mr. Whitaker opened it, his expression quickly shifted from surprise to concern. "You made it through this storm?" he asked. Henry handed him the letter. "Urgent," he said softly. Mr. Whitaker opened the envelope immediately and read the contents. His face changed, this time not with concern, but with urgency. Within minutes, he began preparing his horse and wagon. Henry didn't understand what was happening, but he knew something important had just begun. The letter had come from a nearby town. It contained news that a railway company was planning to extend a new rail line through the region, but the final route had not yet been decided. Landowners who responded quickly had the opportunity to negotiate with the company, potentially transforming their property into valuable transportation hubs. Time was critical. If Mr. Whitaker had received the message late, or not at all, he would have missed the opportunity entirely. That very night, despite the storm, he set out to meet with representatives who were staying in a town several miles away. Weeks later, the decision was made. The new railroad line would pass directly through Whitaker land. The impact was immediate and profound. Where there had once been quiet farmland, a small station began to take shape. Workers arrived, supplies flowed in, businesses followed. The once isolated area slowly transformed into a growing hub of activity. Property values rose, jobs increased, the local economy began to shift, all because of one message delivered on time. Mr. Whitaker never forgot that. Months later, when the snow had melted and spring returned, he visited the general store in town. Henry was there, carrying another stack of small deliveries. Mr. Whitaker approached him with a warm smile. "You probably don't realize what you did that night," he said.
Henry looked confused. "You delivered more than a letter," Mr. Whitaker continued. "You delivered a future." From that day on, Henry's life began to change as well. Mr. Whitaker offered to help support Henry's education, recognizing the boy's responsibility and determination. In a time when many children had to leave school early to work, this was a rare opportunity. Henry accepted. Over the next few years, he balanced work and study, eventually gaining skills that allowed him to move beyond simple deliveries. He learned about business, communication, and logistics, fields that were becoming increasingly important as America grew more connected. By the 1910s, Henry Lawson was no longer just a messenger boy. He was working in transportation management, helping coordinate shipments and communication between towns, ironically becoming part of the very system that had once depended on boys like him walking through storms. America was changing. Railroads expanded, telegraphy lines spread, communication became faster, more reliable. But Henry never forgot that cold night in 1900. The night when a single message, carried by determination rather than technology, changed everything. Today, we send messages without thinking. We assume they will arrive instantly. But more than a century ago, every message had weight. Every delivery required effort. And sometimes the difference between delay and determination could shape the future of an entire community. Because in a world without mobile phones, without instant communication, and without modern convenience, one message delivered at the right time was powerful enough to change everything.